to the Whatnauts review show number 198. My name is Kyle Springer, and I am joined by Melissa Wilkinson. Melissa, how are you?
Hello. I'm doing fine. How are you this weekend, Kyle?
Doing pretty good. I'm excited. This is the last podcast for me in this location. Not just on the review show, but like last one period in this location. So all the background stuff that you see behind me here on the YouTube version will be different next time you see me. And stuff like that.
I'm very excited to see the new setup. I know, were you going to have room for that neon sign with our logo on it?
Hopefully, yes. Hopefully, which is hanging up on this side of the wall. You guys can see the cord kind of here. I do have to figure out lighting and bookshelves and all that stuff, so it might not be perfectly set up right when you see me, but I will be in that space next time. So there you go. That's my weekend. Melissa, what are you up to?
Yesterday was my dad's birthday. All he wanted to do was...
Melissa's dad.
Yeah. All he wanted to do was to lie in his recliner and watch the movie Kinky Boots, one of his faves.
Never heard of this one? What? Is this a family-friendly movie?
It is. It is about a guy in England. Joel Edgerton has just inherited his dad's shoe manufacturing company. They make like classic brown leather men's Oxfords, sturdy, boring shoes that will last a man a lifetime. And the business is going under. He never wanted to inherit it. He has no idea what to do. And then he has a chance meeting with a drag queen and realizes you need feminine styled shoes that are strong enough to hold up a masculine body. We can make those. So it's about this tiny shoe factory making like 2.5 feet tall, like thigh high, like red snakeskin drag queen boots.
Interesting. Okay. Well, don't tell Godzilla that, because he might be next if they need some more materials. Speaking of Godzilla, that's what we're talking about today on the podcast. Godzilla. We went back to the classic, the original 1954 Godzilla, black and white. I've been wanting to bring more kaijus on the podcast, more kaiju content. And so I'm excited to get into that, because if you guys did not know, this is number 198 of the Whatnauts review show, and every week here we have a different story to talk about. It could be a comic, could be a manga, a movie, a TV show, who knows? We read it, we watch it, we come back here and talk about it. And I said, more kaiju, please.
Yes.
So I pitched a couple things kaiju related. I pitched a Godzilla thing, I pitched a King Kong thing, and then a comic book. Which was called Kaiju Max, which you guys might see return at some bit on some pitch down the road here. It was a prison story about kaiju who had been captured and stuff like that. I think it was appropriate that we're like, we just have to go with the original.
Right.
We have to go with Godzilla, right?
The big boy. And my dad, also born in 1954. That's another reason why I picked it. I didn't know Godzilla and my dad were the same age. So Godzilla also loves to relax in his own leather recliner and watch his favorite Chiwetel Ejiofor movies like my dad does.
Sure. Good stuff. Melissa, what is your relationship to Godzilla? That's a weird way of asking that.
We're old friends.
What is your history with Godzilla? What have you seen? What do you know? All that stuff.
I don't remember there was a time when I didn't know who Godzilla was, just in that he was like a large lizard who stomped on buildings. And as a kid, I was obsessed with that American Godzilla movie with Matthew Broderick in it. I watched it all the time. And I've gone back and watched it as an adult, and it still has some nostalgic affection in there for me. But I'm so confused about why I loved this movie when I was 8. I don't know what is in that movie for an 8-year-old girl, but it was strangely formative to me. And I've been slow to see other actually good Godzilla entertainment.
Interesting. Yeah. Yeah, I remember that movie because I would have been 8 at the time too, right? So I remember like the coloring books and the t-shirts and the band-aid.
Yeah.
I had the Godzilla band-aids that had his like
Wow.
his giant eyeball, like don't hurt yourself.
Right. Godzilla watches out for you.
Right? He's a protector.
He is.
And I besides that, I don't think I really dived into any kind of Godzilla content. I mean, I had seen clips. I knew that he fought different monsters, whether it be Mothra or Mecha Godzilla or King Ghidorah, or Ghidorah. I don't know how they pronounce that one, but yeah, like I knew some of the lore and stuff like that of what was out there. I had seen clips, but that was it. That was just kind of all I knew. And so I have been interested, especially in the more recent like Godzilla and Kong movies, because they kind of tie in together, and then they fight and stuff like that. And I don't think those are necessarily gonna be like Oscar-winning performance movies, but like good fun popcorn action flicks. Like, why not? That would be like a great thing for us to do. Like, hey, it's the start of the year. We have 2 weeks off for Christmas. Here's a 5-movie series we can do on the review show. Like stuff like that. Like, just let's go have fun and watch these. On top of that, one of my favorite anime creators, the creator behind Neon Genesis Evangelion, made a Godzilla film. And knowing how much I like that anime, like, I want to check this out. They also apparently announced that he's working on like an Ultraman film and a Kamen Rider film, and now that they might be making like a shared universe film there. So I'm like, this sounds awesome. Like, I want to know more. Give me like now I feel like I need to go back and learn some of the histories of characters like Godzilla and stuff like that, and be prepared. So might get some more kaiju content here on the review show this year.
Okay.
Good stuff.
I just want to go back to something you said earlier, which is joking about making boots for Godzilla. I Googled, does Godzilla ever wear clothes? And it seems that he is not. I mean, people have drawn him in a tuxedo, but I'm seeing no stills from movies where Godzilla has like a hat or a cape or something. Just once, I want him to like walk through a giant banner like in Jurassic Park, and then he's wearing the banner like a scarf.
Or it's the like with the rising sun logo on the back there.
Yeah.
He has like it sticks
like
on his head.
Headband. Yeah,
it sticks on his head. Yeah, he has a head band. That'd be funny.
You get sweaty doing all this work. You should have sweatpants.
There you go. I don't know, but yeah. So now that we have watched Godzilla, Melissa, what did you think? What was your experience like?
I had a pretty good time. The movie is very solemn as a whole, but there is still a lot of quaint fun to be had during those destruction scenes. Those are, as always, the highlight of the film. Watching him like a rubber foot just stomp on a tiny model of a building. Yeah.
Man, I had a lot of fun with this. I was very curious, again, because I had heard some things about the movies and directions different Godzilla movies had gone, and I always heard just great things about this first one, and of like there's so much more to Godzilla than, oh my god, it's a giant monster.
Mm.
And so it was kind of this really satisfying thing for me to watch this movie, because it was this like curiosity satisfied, right? Where I was like, oh, okay, this is what they mean. Like, this is what it is. And so I got to see this Godzilla movie that, yeah, was just complete movie magic for what it was back then, right? Like for us now, it's like, okay, yeah, this is just the guy in his suit there. Some of the cuts don't necessarily make sense
Mm-hmm.
exactly, or they don't
Yeah.
flow to
Yeah.
get together. But like, man, they had fun, and you can tell, like, for back then, for 1954, or yeah, 1954, like, this movie was serious. This movie was scary.
Yeah.
Like this would have, whew. And I think like it's kind of still effective. Like
Yes.
I feel like it did a good job of portraying lots of different aspects of what that situation would have been like if that was a real thing. Um, and in ways, it was a real thing too, because Godzilla can be a metaphor for the realities of war or the consequences of them. They use this oxygen detonate. I forget what it was called. The oxygen
Yeah.
destroyer, which they
Yep.
liken to an atomic bomb and stuff
Mm.
like that. So just to see these metaphors about the consequences of war and destruction and all of that stuff, and to see the different ways they explored that and the virtues of that, was like, this is actually really good. Like, it's not just this like silly, like, oh, what if it was a giant monster and he was stepping all over the cars. It's like, no, like,
Mm-hmm.
this is serious. Like, we're actually
Yeah.
trying to say something here, and I appreciated that, and I think it was still
Mm-hmm.
effective today. So I had
Yeah.
fun.
I do like that Godzilla is a franchise that can have those two tones, similar to something like Batman, where you've got the Batman and you've got the Lego Batman, and they're both valid forms of Batman. Godzilla
69
can be
Batman, right?
right. Godzilla can be the silly, fun, I'm gonna fight a robot version of myself and step on a bunch of screaming people. And it's the serious environmental, philosophical concern of, do we really have any right to destroy this thing? If we do destroy it, are we creating a bigger problem than what we actually have right now?
Yeah. Like, that's also one of the things that I'm curious about in Godzilla's history now, is how did he go from this very serious movie, this very serious metaphor and philosophical ponderings, to this, like, oh, what a large lovable lizard, he's our protector, he's so cute, like, what? Like,
Yeah. There's
like,
that side of him
how did
too, that he's a
happen?
protective spirit, which
Yeah.
isn't in this movie so much. And it isn't in the Roland Emmerich American Godzilla so much, although that movie does have some themes of Godzilla is a living creature the same as us. It wants to eat, it wants to have shelter, it wants to reproduce. There is an understanding of Godzilla, but Godzilla does not seem to understand back to the humans and try and do anything for them.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I guess plot synopsis for people who might not
Yeah.
have seen this yet. There is this small island in Japan, and they are, we don't know this at first, but they are apparently testing H bombs and stuff in the sea, and it wakes up a terrible creature, Godzilla, which apparently they have like a folk legend about this creature called Godzilla, which they didn't really dive into in this. But yeah, here comes Godzilla. He is this giant creature that just seems to appear out of nowhere, and starts attacking and stomping on things and just causing chaos. And the people there have to figure out, well, like, do we ask for help? Do we tell people? Is this national security? Do we destroy
Mm.
it? Do we save it? Do we study it? What happens? Um, and it's just an interesting tale of how they deal with this giant lizard and their thoughts and feelings on it. And like we said, there's a bunch of metaphors for the
Yeah.
atomic bombs that went off in Japan and the destruction of World War II, and what happens if we actually make the atomic bomb. Is that going to be a good thing? Is that going to be a bad thing? Stuff like that. Um, so I say if you are a monster movie fan, check it out. I
Mhm.
think if you are a film buff and you have not watched this yet, go check it out. I think it's a classic.
Yeah. And there's also the perfunctory human storyline where there's like a
Oh, sure.
scientist
Yeah.
who's investigating Godzilla, and he has a daughter who's supposed to marry this other scientist, but instead she wants to go off and marry this sailor, the salvage diver. So
Yeah,
there are humans. Humans also do something.
they do. They do indeed. Yeah. Do you have any kind of final spoiler-free thoughts that you want to mention?
I want to say that we watched this on HBO Max, and it is part of the Criterion Collection section of
Yeah.
titles there on the platform. And I was surprised at how this film looks pretty good, but it is grainier, it is shadowier and a bit more spotty than I would have expected for a movie that's this pivotal. That's such a huge part of culture and is from 1954, which isn't that old in the grand scheme of film. It's still certainly watchable, but I was just slightly
yeah.
surprised that for a movie this important, we don't have a transfer that looks just slightly better.
I maybe Godzilla stepped on it, and this is the
Destroyed.
best that
Right.
we got. Yeah, who knows?
Yeah,
Who knows?
how appropriate for a title with a legacy of destruction. The better print was destroyed.
Cool. Well, we will take a quick break for some housekeeping, and then when we get back, we will dive into spoilers on Godzilla. So we will be right back. We put a lot of hard work into the shows that we make, and yes, we make multiple different shows here at the Whatnauts, and we'd love it if you check them all out. You can find out more information on our website at thewhatnauts.com, as well as your favorite podcasting platform of choice. When you type in the Whatnauts, all of our shows will pop up right there. Just don't forget to give us a nice rating and review if you like the shows. If you want to support what we do here at The Whatnauts, patreon.com/The Whatnauts is the best place to do that. You can support us for as little as $1 a month. You can get all kinds of exclusive content at the $3 tier. You can also get a shout out and a thank you on all of our shows at the $5 tier. You can support us on Twitch by subscribing to our channel at twitch.tv/The Whatnauts, and we would love to have you all join us for our live streams and talk with us in the chat. And lastly, we have merch. If you'd like to grab yourself a shirt or a sweatshirt or a mug or something else, go to thewhatnauts.com/store to pick up some merch today. And we are back. A big shout out to our Patreon supporters at the $5 tier. So thank you to Sam. We love you a lot.
Thanks,
we appreciate
Sam.
you. It means a lot that you have supported us for this long. Yeah, cool things that we've been up to here at the Whatnauts. Crossplay, our video game podcast. We've been talking a lot about Elden Ring. That is one of the big popular video games that's out right now. Been talking about some of the latest news, like ID at Xbox, all of the massive exodus from the initiative at Microsoft. They were working on that new Perfect Dark game, and it seems like a lot of those employees have left. But go check that stuff out if you are a fan of video games. We got a lot of stuff coming out in the near future too, like Kirby and the Forgotten Lands, Ghostwire Tokyo, all that stuff. So Get excited about that. On the captain's log, I had 10 predictions for the MCU in 2022 and beyond. We also recently talked about the Doritos Locos Taco and all of that stuff. So
It turned 10.
Yeah.
A whole decade of Doritos.
Living the Doritos Locos, right? Yeah. Go check that out as well. We have a lot of fun on the captain's log. We do have a trailer reaction for the new Miss Marvel trailer up on our YouTube page for the Reactor Core. So I'm super stoked about that. We have a lot of movies and shows coming very soon that I know we will be wanting to talk about. I think I'm gonna go Thursday night with my roommates to go see what's it called? Everything All Together All at Once.
Everything Everywhere All at Once, I think.
Yeah. So I'm gonna go see that. I would love to talk about that if possible. Like I said, I'm in the process of moving, so it's gonna be difficult to find time and all of that stuff. But we also have Moon Knight coming up here real soon. We have Morbius in a couple weeks here. All of it is happening real fast. I'm excited. There's some cool things to look forward to. But yeah, I think that's about it for housekeeping. So let's get into spoilers. There we are in spoilers. I have to do everything manually on my stuff because I broke something on my back end of my stream. Things aren't working exactly the way I want them to, so now I have to like hit the button on the program instead of hitting the button on my stream deck, and it's just extra work. Sucks. Well, no one cares.
Well, at least you're intact, Kyle, and no lizard has stepped on your house, so count your blessings.
Indeed. Where do you want to start with Godzilla? Do you want to start with those action scenes of the houses getting stepped on and stuff like that?
Let's see if that is a treat for later. I think I want to talk about that folklore aspect of the story, because that was something I wasn't aware of, and I don't think I've seen as much of that in other Godzillas. And I've only seen the American Godzillas. I saw the one with Matthew Broderick and the one from last year where he fought Kong, and that's it. I've seen just clips of other ones. But I thought that was an interesting addition that he is already, or that there was at least once a legend in this community of a figure like Godzilla. And then he arises out of the sea and caused by atomic testing, which is fairly recent. This movie was shot in like 1954. You know, all the bombings were like barely a decade ago. And I know there was testing for some time before that, but I don't know the exact timeline. I was surprised that for something that seemed so timely, it was also a legend an old man told them about.
Yeah, well, I think that's the thing with using a metaphor like Godzilla, this made-up creature, right? They can kind of fudge that stuff where it's like, oh yeah, he's been around for a while. He's a ancestor of the dinosaurs. He's, you know, so we do have this folklore legend. But yeah, if they had gone a more scientific route and more, I guess, realistic approach, right, then yeah, that folklore thing probably wouldn't have been there exactly. But this was something I was also kind of fascinated by, something I didn't know about Godzilla. Like, I thought it was just like he just appears one day and that's it. But no, like apparently there is this myth, this legend of this giant beast that lives in the sea, whether that be a reinterpretation of the biblical Leviathan or something else. It's just it's interesting to see that.
And there is also talk of Godzilla coming from a truly ancient species of creature that maybe were a normal size or just not a gargantuan size for what they are. And then it was the radiation that made him grow stories and stories tall. So maybe that's what the legend is about. It's about just a very large sea lizard, but not a building stompingly large sea lizard.
Right. Yeah. Like maybe they saw a whale and they didn't know what a whale was back in the day. And so they had this like big old stock. I have no idea if there's whales in that part of the
I think so.
sea, but
I don't know if there's a place where whales aren't.
Well, we'll have to see.
Yeah.
So like I'm kind of interested in that, and I'm wondering if there are any kind of like Godzilla stories that do focus on that a little bit more. Like, where did this legend come from? I don't know if it would be interesting enough to be a story in and of itself. Like, here's a prequel to Godzilla, right? And it's this folklore legend. I don't know if that would be interesting enough to make a full movie with, or a comic or something, but it would be interesting to see. Go ahead.
What's that Batman movie that's a bunch of short stories about Batman, like people in Gotham telling urban legends about Batman? Like, I saw him once and he actually drank some guy's blood. We need something like that, but for Godzilla.
It's like Batman Gotham Knights. I believe it's an animated movie.
Yeah.
I don't remember off the top of my head there, but yeah, I know exactly what you mean. But yeah, we need to have something like that, or just a movie that does, like, as they're like thinking about how to deal with Godzilla, they do flashbacks to the like folklore version of this story to help them and to help you as a viewer understand this creature or what's happening or why it might have appeared or something like that. But yeah, I mean, there's not much to it except that this old guy just mentions it, like, oh yeah, it's Godzilla of myth, of legend, right? And they're just like,
we used to sacrifice girls to Godzilla to have a good fishing season.
They used to sacrifice the women. It's just like, here's a snack. Don't eat us. Eat this instead.
Right. And like, how much of that was literal? Like, did you see Godzilla? Did Godzilla come out of the ocean and eat like an 18-year-old? Or was it a metaphorical sacrifice? Like, you better wear
did you kill them first and
out
then
there alone
put them out
for
there?
A while?
Or did you just like drop them out of a boat with like a rock tied to their feet or something, you know? Like, they're like, and then, but they still have like a ritual built up around it, because they do mention like the last remaining vestige of that thing is this song and dance that they do here, which would be interesting to know more about, but it's just not in there.
One of the other movies you pitched to me last week was Kong Skull Island, and there is a strong mythic aspect to that movie where Kong truly is a decades, if not centuries old presence on this island, on Skull Island. And the native population does have legends of him.
Yeah. And on that one, I haven't seen it, but I got the impression that like they worshipped him. Like he is like some form of deity or king to them, right? Just someone Kong. That they
I mean, his name isn't just Kong. He's got a title. He worked hard to be a
Mr. King. Mr. King Kong, are you here? I actually do know someone named King. I think I don't actually know if it's a nickname, but that is what we call him. It's like, hey, what's up, King?
Your own legend.
It's not like and it's not like a like, damn king, like you do you're right. It's not like that. It's like that's actually what we call him. That's his name. That's how he signs all of his stuff. um
Wow.
so yeah.
The myth walks among
Godzilla.
you.
Yeah, the man, the myth, the legend himself, right?
The king. At the beginning of this movie, it starts with these fishing boats going under, and nobody's quite sure what happened, if there's any survivors. There's a very tense scene where a bunch of wives and children have all gathered at this army outpost to demand answers for where their family is. And I decided to clock how long does it take before it is apparent that the culprit is a creature and not some sort of a force of weather, some sort of an environmental, not environmental as in the themes, but literally environmental, like a storm didn't get them.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it does take about 12 minutes. And it is when that old man says, you guys heard about this Godzilla legend? And they're like, shut up, old man. That's not what it is.
And then he's just like, watch. You'll be sorry.
I almost wish we spent a little bit more time in that, where there is this intense destruction and they're like, what does this?
Yeah.
I was like, a creature would probably be one of the last things you might think of. You might go to weather first. You might go to sabotage on these shipping lines first.
Yeah. Like I almost would have wanted this to be like a 2-part movie, or just make this movie longer. Like give me half an hour more. That might be a little too much still, but just give me a little bit more. Yeah, to for them to be like, is this inclement weather? Is this some kind of attack on from foreign powers? Like, yeah, just sit with the mourning wives and children a little bit more, because I think some of the most powerful scenes in this movie as a whole is when it sticks with the people, when it sticks with the kind of like, for lack of better terms, like the National Geographic shots that you would have seen there, right?
Yeah.
Like there's the woman with her kids, and if you think of National Geographic, you know exactly what picture I'm talking about there. And then there is a scene like that in this movie where there's a woman with her kids, everything is burning, all that stuff, and she's trying her hardest to comfort them and just be like, we'll see daddy soon, like we'll be with him soon. And it's harrowing. It's just like, this is awful. And then it in one that's not as destructive, but still just like, what I thought was the most powerful scene in the movie was the scene of the giant chorus of people singing, of just like voices in unison praying in song, just like, give us peace, give us like all of this. And it was just like, wow, like this is it's haunting in a strange way. Yeah.
I know at the beginning I like hand waved away, like, and there's human stuff going on. But which I'm talking about, sort of the love triangle at the beginning of the, at the center of this, arguably at the center of the human storyline. But there is pathos all over the place. One corner of that love triangle, I think it's I did write down their names, Dr. Sinazawa, perhaps. Dr. Sarazawa, and he's in a love triangle with Emiko, who's the scientist's daughter, and Ogata, who's the salvage diver. Sarazawa's story about how he discovered, he was trying to learn about oxygen, which sounds like a very innocent, noble pursuit. And then he figures out how to destroy all the oxygen. And he's like, this is so dangerous. I'm going to tell one person, make her swear to secrecy. I never want to use this. If I have to use it, I'm going to burn all my notes. And he's like, even if I burn the notes, somebody could get me to do this again. The knowledge is still in my head. Like the second he discovers that, he knows I must die to make sure this is never used improperly.
Yeah. Yeah, which really harkens back to the regret, right, that Einstein
Yeah.
had, and I'll just what have we done to
Hmm.
make this thing? Um,
I
yeah,
do want to talk about.
that stuff is there. That stuff is
I do want to
in there
talk about
in
this
spades.
choir because it
Yeah,
is a
go for it.
very emotional moment in the movie, and hearing that choir is what makes Serizawa realize I have to use this to destroy Godzilla. I know I've been putting it off. I've been hesitant about it because if I use this to destroy Godzilla, what if the other world powers look at what I did and they can reverse engineer it and now they've got themselves a weapon to use against another country? That's what he does not want to happen. And he's like, I'm not
Mhm.
going to use that weapon against
Right.
Godzilla. And then this choir sings a song about please help us, Godzilla's destroying us. And that convinces him. It's very emotional, but it's also it is a choir of entirely teenage girls, no
The ones
boys,
who
and
would have
not
been
like women of
sacrificed.
all ages. Right, it is specifically, and you see them all lined up in these perfectly neat lines in some huge church or school or civic building somewhere. These neat, orderly lines in their clean schoolgirl uniforms. They're all the same height. It looks like it's. I was just baffled about like, okay, so this requires entirely like, what is this, ninth grade girls? Like it was so surprisingly homogenous and so
Yeah.
well organized and well structured and well
Yeah.
practiced. Like in all of this chaos, where did this come from? How did all these girls meet each other? They're wearing different uniforms, so it's not one school, it's more than one school. All these
Right.
schools got together. They taught their girls a plea a plea for help against the hordes of Godzilla. There were many other things they could have done. They could have volunteered with the medics. No, we're going to teach these girls a song. They're going to sing the song. We'll put it on the news. Like it works. We see it work. The choir does save all of Japan. I'm just so baffled at how the choir happened in the first place.
It on one hand, yeah, it can be kind of silly to think about it.
Yes.
But to me, I think on the flip side of that, like that's also what makes it so powerful. Is like this is like it's such a strange occurrence. It's such a like it feels like an act of desperation. And
Yes.
in this like we are helpless because you're right, they could have volunteered to go be nurses or assigned to go be nurses or help with the
Yeah.
evacuation or this and that, but like it feels like they are just done. They're so desperate that they're like, it doesn't matter what we do, we're gonna die. And it is like I'm not a particularly religious person,
Mhm.
but to just see like these like all these people gathering in that manner and doing it's something powerful, right? It's
Yes.
just like I don't really fully understand what's happening here or what's going on or who you're praying to
Mhm.
or stuff like that, but it's just like, huh, wow, like this has a profound effect on me as a viewer of just what
Yes.
is happening here. And I think the same thing is happening to that scientist as he
Mhm.
sees that and is being moved. But if he also knows about the myth, the thing that I didn't think about until today is, yeah, it's a chorus of all teenage girls, the ones who would
Yeah.
have been sacrificed
I
for this.
guess
So
that's
if
why.
he has, yeah, so if he has knowledge of that, like that also could have been something that would have been like, if I don't do this, all of these people specifically will be sacrificed anyways. Um, and it's just a
That
like I guess I should save the entire country, right?
that
So
makes sense. I wasn't thinking about the sacrificing the girls angle. I just thought it was funny that somebody decided what we need now is a choir to plea to the world for help. If there's
yeah,
boys in it, they won't take it seriously. We need this to be an
no
entire
one believes
girls
boys.
choir,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
This Do you think if a giant monster came to attack America, we'd send out like pentatonics to plead to the world for help, for aid?
Acapella groups of the world, we need your help.
Rockapella, we need you now more than ever. Straight no chaser, where are you?
They see this giant monster, and someone steps up on the mic and goes, anyways, here's Wonderwall. And they all start singing Wonder.
Right. We don't need to build a physical wall against the monster. That's something that is brought up in this movie. Well, they're not a wall, but an electric fence. And that's in Pacific Rim, where they're building that huge wall to like, half a mile tall around like the, Pacific coastline. Nobody's tried a wonder wall, a spiritual wall, a wall of song and emotion.
Maybe it works. Who knows?
Right. Has anybody tried doing a choir about the problem?
Yeah.
I now this is what I really want a Godzilla movie about, is just about the choir leader. The person who decides in the midst of all this, I need to get 100 girls together and have them sing a song.
Right. What was also interesting to me about this is that immediately the father of
yes,
the father of Amiko,
Professor Yamane.
Yes, thank you. He immediately was like, hey, don't use the searchlights on him. Don't use flashing lights on him. He somehow recognizes that, like, either Godzilla is drawn to them or does not like them, so is specifically trying to destroy those things. And it seems like between the like powerful movement of the song and these bright shining lights, they almost could have figured out a way to control it and like change its course or stop it or something. But I think that's also one of the strengths of this movie, is that every kind of sector, whether it be the public or the government or the mourning wives or all, just each different group that it shows, they all want something else. They all want something different. And it just creates this divide where nothing happens, where like they don't have an effective defense. They don't have a way to stop it or to evacuate the people properly. Because there are scenes when Godzilla's walking in the city and then you see lights come on in a building and people rushing up to the window. It's just like,
why are you still in the building?
Come on. I had pizza. Like, they have no way of like effectively saving people there. You would think like, hey, if this giant creature is attacking, why are you still in this building? Like, what are you doing? And it's kind of wild to see, but it makes sense, right? And I think because of the short runtime of the, I mean, it's not super short, but
it's like 96 minutes. Yeah.
But I think we both expressed, right, that we would have liked maybe a little bit more to explore some of this stuff. I think this movie gives you a good taste of each of those sectors, what the scientist thinks, what the government wants, what the people want, all that stuff. But also, like, it gives you enough that you understand, but not enough to really explore it, if that makes sense. Which I can't say is ineffective or a bad thing. It's just a thing like, this was good. I want more. Like, tell me. Like, I want to be here and understand this situation. So yeah.
One very interesting facet of this movie for me that I've never seen in another Godzilla story or even another kaiju story of any kind. is that, of course, radiation created Godzilla, turned a perhaps sort of odd, unusual prehistoric creature, a creature that would be of note anyway to begin with.
Right.
Blew it up, stories high, created a true threat out of this creature. Radiation created him, and he is still radioactive. He stomps through the town, and the people who do manage to escape from him, a scientist waves like a Geiger counter over a little girl and then turns to the nurse and sadly shakes his head.
Ooh,
That
yeah.
I've never seen that if you get too close to Godzilla, you too are radioactive. Even if you physically escape, disease may get you in the coming years.
Yeah, which makes sense. Makes complete sense now that I think about it. But yeah, that's not something I knew. I knew he had his radioactive breath, the attack that he does, right? But like that was new to me, that he himself is just radioactive and the stuff he touches will affect you. But yeah, that's what happened with the atomic bomb. That's what happened in Chernobyl and all that stuff, right?
Do you know the elephant's foot?
Yeah.
He's like an entire elephant's foot just walking through Tokyo. That's the scariest part of it to me. I don't want to say I wish there were more stories about that angle of it because it's very sad. But that is an angle to the kaiju storyline I've never thought of before. And I was surprised that it was here. And again, I just mentioned I've seen like 2 Godzilla movies besides this one. And they're like American ones from the last 20 years or whatever. I was surprised that I saw it here in the first Godzilla movie, and I haven't heard of that happening in another movie.
Yeah. Something that was really interesting for me with this movie was that things kind of clicked into place for other creators that I like, and to see it's like, oh, this must have been an influence for them without even like really realizing that this would have been an influence. One of my favorite manga creators, Naoki Urasawa, has a very specific art style, right? He has his own very recognizable art style, the way he draws people and their faces and stuff like that. And I've always really liked it and enjoyed it because it seems more mature. It like the manga he makes is not it's not the shonen, like this is made for young teen boys, right? It is more mature story. So he has a more mature, more realistic looking characters in his works. And even though he doesn't necessarily tell stories about like giant kaiju and stuff like that, he tells emotional human stories about a doctor or about a lonely robot or a detective, right? What was interesting to me, the actors in this movie, I've seen his artwork is them. Like it's just their haircuts, the way their facial features are, it's not like, oh, that is this character. It's not that, but it's like, I've seen that hairstyle. I've seen that facial structure. I've seen the way that woman's mouth looks, and it just it hit me, and it snapped of like, yeah, Naoki would have grown up on this stuff. Like this would have been an inspiration for him. So it was just neat for me to see that and have that click and just be like, this is where he gets his art style from. It's these characters and what they look like. And I was just like, that's so cool.
That's fun.
It was specifically the reporter that wants to go visit the scientist. He has like this very specific haircut, and just when you look at his face like directly, it was just like, that's it. That's how he draws people, as well as as well as Amiko. Like just the way like her face is a little bit longer and skinnier, and just yeah, like it was just like that's how he draws faces. Like this is wild.
Huh.
So that
Yeah,
was
and
fun.
I'm not familiar with these actors. Perhaps they had storied careers. I do think that the Dr. Yamane maybe was in a number of Akira Kurosawa films.
I think so. I feel like I've seen him a bunch. Let me see if I can look him up here.
Yeah, my favorite movie show on YouTube, Welcome to the Basement, they did an episode about Godzilla, which is
okay.
the only way I'd seen it before this. And I think that was one of the facts that they mentioned.
Yeah, he was in Rashomon in 1950, which is a Kurosawa film. He was in Seven Samurai, also Kurosawa.
Classics.
Yeah. He got the medal with purple ribbon in 1974 from the Japanese government for his contributions to the arts. He appeared
that's very nice.
He appeared in over 200 films between 1934 and 1981. And he's in 21 of Kurosawa's 30 films, more than any other actor.
Way to go!
Yeah,
truly medal worthy.
He was one that I was like, oh yeah, I've seen him in something. And I actually watched Rashomon like 2 months ago, like for the first time.
How's Rashomon? I still haven't seen it.
It's interesting. I liked it. I don't think it'll be for everyone. But it was an interesting, because I've heard people use the like, oh, it's like a Rashomon setup thing.
Yeah, it's an archetype.
Yeah, I was like, I kind of get what you're saying, but I don't understand it exactly. But yeah, it's a crime movie, and it's these like 4 people discussing what they heard about this crime and how the trial went, and how each of the people on trial, or like at the defendants and victim, all that stuff, how they each described what happened, and kind of them reflecting on what that says about humanity and stuff like that, and what human nature is, and stuff like that. So it was interesting. It was long. It was a long one. But it was good. It was good
to hear.
So yeah,
nice. I did like Dr. Yamane, and I liked that one of his conflicts was Godzilla is the last of its kind. He is the most endangered species as a Godzilla, and he doesn't want the creature destroyed on that ethical ground. Like, even if it's destroying hundreds, if not thousands of human lives, humans aren't an endangered species, but Godzilla is. And he's like, what? Do us humans have the right to destroy this magnificent creature who has lived for centuries, who has found a way to survive that long, survived radiation, only got stronger, is the last of his kind? It's like, do we have any right to do that? And I think that's a very interesting moral quandary to have one of the characters living with.
Yeah, I think, because I don't necessarily know how that, or if that bit translates to this like metaphor of the consequences of war. Does this mean he's in favor of keeping war around more as a scientific thing to study it and the consequences of it? Like, I don't know if that necessarily translates to that thing. So I think looking at his conundrum, right, of like, I just want to study this thing, like, why don't we look at its defenses against radiation, like all that stuff. I think that is a great addition to the film in general, just for what the story actually is, right? It is a story about this giant monster, this creature from the sea attacking, and no one really understands what's happening. And yeah, he's a scientist, and it's like, hey, like, let's be nice and let's study this thing, maybe we can help humanity and like
Yeah.
see if we can learn something here. Um,
Yeah, there's a question throughout the movie of, if you are being attacked, how much should you attack back in a way? Like,
sure.
it's bad. We don't like that Godzilla is destroying us, but is it a worse action? Are we putting more negativity out in the world if we do something against Godzilla? With Dr. Serizawa and his conflict of, I have a weapon that could destroy Godzilla, but it could also destroy every other living creature in Tokyo Bay. We would lose a major part of our fishing industry. People would go hungry. There'd be economic struggles. If other countries saw what we did and figured out how to reverse engineer it, now there's a new bomb out there in the world. And he's like, I would rather just have Godzilla stomp around and destroy everything than to make the problem worse by trying to destroy him.
Yeah. Yeah. It's just, yeah, I really liked when they had to weigh those decisions, right?
Yeah.
Another scene that I liked was when they were kind of not really in the courtroom, but in that like giant meeting
Yes.
room, like town hall style thing.
Yeah.
And they were deciding what to do, right? And they were like, do we tell the world that there is this giant creature attacking and ask for help, or do we not? And of course, the like government people is like, no, it's national security. Like, we don't want to let them know. We don't want to ask for help. And then the people who've already lost their husbands or stuff like that out at sea was just like, what is wrong with you? Of course we need to ask. Of course we need to let people know that this thing is here. Because if we don't and it kills us, then they're gonna have to deal with the same thing. Like, we need to let them know and prepare them. And like those scenes I loved, because just that, like, to be honest, I don't know where I would fall in that. I do see. I see reasons for both. I'm inclined to be like, yes, be transparent and be all. Especially I think nowadays, as the world has gone to a more global economy and stuff like that. I think it makes more sense to tell people, but I understand some of the like, no, we don't want to cause a panic. We don't want to broadcast it. Like, that makes sense too. So it's what do you do? Like, I don't know.
I like that there are a lot of questions in a storyline that has always felt simple to me. Monsters show up, stomp, 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 roar, 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 a plane shoots at them. Like, there's a lot going on. Yeah. A lot of questions to ask yourself. I'd love to spend more time on the ground with a civilian. If they're being evacuated, where are they going to? What are those struggles? And I think we do see one evacuation mission that is successful. Like, everybody gets off of one particular island or something like that. Like, that's tremendous. I'd love to see a 1917 of a Godzilla movie. Like, how 1917, it's taking place against the backdrop of World War I, but it's specifically about two soldiers who just have to walk across the countryside to give a message to one other group of soldiers. And it's narrowed down and it's very small. There's something like Dunkirk, where you have these dogfights and you have these evacuation missions, and you've also got these very small stories of, we found one injured soldier. We don't totally know what his deal is because he's partially unconscious most of the time. We want to help him, but we don't know, what is this guy's background? Why is he so injured? Will he mean us well when he comes to consciousness again?
Right. Yeah.
You could do a lot. I would love to see different facets of a Godzilla movie. So many narratives that you can pull out of this concept.
Yeah. So there's been you guys might be familiar with the character of the Punisher in Marvel comics.
Yes.
And I, there's been he's been a character that has been around for a while, doesn't always hold his own comic. They
Mm,
might start up a comic and it ends up just kind of being a like a 2 volume mini series or something like that, or it starts and it gets canceled or this and that. And he's just not really meant to be a character that has his own title per se. But some of the
mhm.
interesting things that they have done with that character is they've tried to do different spins or takes on how to write the character, and not in like, oh, he's a big guy or he's a small guy or he has this, he likes to fight with this, but more of like the character is what he is, but how do we cover it? Like, do we
Mhm.
follow him? Is he the main character, or is every issue following another civilian that runs into to
Yeah.
him? And the Punisher is more of a force of nature that happens to people, right? And I think the same thing could potentially be effective for a Godzilla story, right? Where you don't see much of God's. I mean, and I guess you don't see much of Godzilla in this, but you see enough of him where Godzilla
Mhm.
is kind of a character in
Yeah.
this here. But I think to what you were saying, like to have these side stories about a person evacuating a young child who can't find their mom, or a scientist
Yeah.
that does that, like there can be, I think, a really really interesting set of stories where Godzilla is literally a force of nature that happens in these just random people's lives, and you follow those
Mhm.
stories instead of the like larger. Oh no, giant monster is attacking. What does the
Mm.
country do? Right. So
And this is something that I think the American Godzilla movie does do. There is some of that in there. One of my favorite parts of that movie was that different areas in New York City are getting evacuated. So, like, one borough is evacuated. And some of the characters we're following are reporters, and one of them goes home to see his wife, and she's taken in all of these neighbors. Because she's like, where else are they gonna go? You know, like the traffic is jammed trying to leave the city. They can't stay in the city. So it's just packed with people, but it's not a tense atmosphere. It's almost like a party. Like, it's filled with snacks. There's giant bowls of Cheetos. There's kids running around like shooting Nerf guns at each other. I
mhm.
like it, to see people coming together and finding levity and trying to find fun and companionship in these crammed together evacuated refugee stories, and to live under not just the fear but the absurdity of a giant monster is attacking the city. Like, this
Yeah.
movie had some layer of that, and I would like to see that again, of just, oh, what the heck, a dinosaur's attacking us. How scared can I be? Just give me some chips. Let's watch the news. Let's make fun of the news.
That's also kind of what they did in Cloverfield, where
Mhm.
like you really don't, you see like 30 seconds of the monster
Yeah.
in that one, but it is a story about a giant monster attacking the city, and these two people just trying to find or this one guy like trying
Yeah.
to find the girl that he likes. So that like there are stories like that out there. um and I think there's good ways and bad ways to do them, but yeah, I think Godzilla has had such a lasting effect that there's all kinds of stories you can make now with Godzilla, around Godzilla. um and I'm interested in exploring more. I want to know more. Where like
Mhm.
I don't necessarily feel like I need to watch every single Godzilla. I
Yeah.
don't even know how many there are, but just like I would love to watch a handful of them that kind of takes me through the major changes in uh tone, or the changes in lore or stuff like that.
Yeah.
um to just learn more. I think that'd be exciting because this was good.
Mhm.
This was good. I liked this a lot.
Yeah. This was a valuable thing that we watched. I'm glad we get to cross this off of our movie history list.
Indeed, indeed. I think that's about it for all I have to say on
Mhm.
Godzilla. Do you have any kind of final thoughts that you want to mention?
No, check it out. Like we said, it's easily available on HBO Max, and it's not very long.
Yeah, not very long indeed. And if you guys are interested, HBO Max does have a ton more Godzilla movies
Oh yeah.
on the air that you guys can check out. Um, Cool. I am going to try and pull up our bingo cards. That it didn't really work last time. Let me see and put this guy on and this guy there. There we go. It worked. We got our bingo cards pulled up on screen if you're watching on the YouTube version. I like to play review show bingo here on the podcast. All kinds of different movie tropes and stuff like that. Filling out our bingo cards. Okay, let's see here. The one, man, I wish I could do the signature move with a name.
Yeah.
He has a signature move. We've named it, but he hasn't named it because he's a lizard.
Right. Yeah, nobody in the movie is like, that's his classic radioactive breath.
Right. I don't know if I can truly count that one.
I think the only thing I might be able to get was there a power outage?
I have that one too. I feel like we could go ahead and say yes just from the amount of destruction.
I don't specifically remember it, but it must have happened. He must have walked through like some wires and then a town went black.
Yeah, I mean that's exactly what happened, if not him directly stepping on like a power plant or just enough destruction that it, you know. So I'd be willing to say yes on that one.
Okay. Yeah, that's all I've got then. No bingos for me this week.
You had power outage. Where's your power outage? Down there.
It's in my bottom left corner.
Yeah, that's what I want.
Man, as soon as I get conspiracy board, I've got my first bingo.
Ooh. I want to fight for one here. How do you feel about misunderstood monster?
I feel like that may be a trope of the Godzilla IP in general, but I don't know if we get a lot of that in this movie because we never see any emoting or any sort of motivation from Godzilla himself. There's different like Dr. Yamane sticks up for him like he's the last of his kind. Do we have the right to destroy him? But it's not like we see a shot of Godzilla and he looks vaguely sad.
Yeah. Yeah, then I think that I think we just got power outage and that's it. I was hoping I could get misunderstood monster because that one would give me a bingo if I had that one. So
although this does inspire me next year to put down character with an eye patch.
Right, I thought of that too. I was like, oh, we have mysterious scar, but we don't have mysterious eye patch.
Yeah.
God. Okay, well, that's saved. I think that is our bingo update for you all. Still no bingos. Few months into the year, I think we were right to expand our bingo card and do all of that stuff. But I think once the bingos start popping, they won't stop. Cool. Let's do recommendations. Melissa, if people liked Godzilla, what else might they like?
There is an audio drama called The Behemoth. This came out in 2017, and it's 20 episodes, but they're all very short. Like, they're not longer than 12 minutes. So you can blaze through the
Cool.
entire thing in an afternoon, maybe. This is an audio drama about a behemoth, a giant mysterious creature that just emerges out of the eastern seaboard of the United States and just comes on land and just starts walking. He just walks across the United States from Atlantic to Pacific. And it's the story of this teenage girl who's like not fitting in at school. She's really stressed out and she just breaks down and decides, I'm going to follow him. Like I feel a kindred spirit with this mysterious outsider behemoth. It's the story of her walking across the United States, following this behemoth and trying to understand it, trying to bond with it. And the news follows her and like occasionally leaves her like a supply drop.
Cool. That's fun. Any other recommendations besides the behemoth?
Mystery Science Theater 3000. They've
Always
covered, I'm certain they've covered some Godzilla on there. They've covered other Japanese sci-fi movies from around this era.
Sure.
Invasion of the Neptune Men is one of my favorites. You can find that one on YouTube, I think. I just watched that recently.
Cool. Well, we did kind of cover some Godzilla content a long time ago. Here on the review show, episode 24. Melissa, you and I covered Godzilla 1 and 2. This is the Netflix adaptions, the like animated, more sci-fi take on this. There is actually a third one in this series. When we covered this, that third one was not out yet at the time. So there is a like Godzilla animated adaptation on Netflix with a more sci-fi take. I think the premise of that one was like humans left the planet for a long time and come back, and they find the planet kind of like overgrown, and there's these new creatures, and one of them is Godzilla, and he is the king of the monsters, right? And they have to figure out, it's like, well, we were hoping we could live here again, like how do we deal with Godzilla? So that one is interesting. I think the third one would have had Ghidorah in that one. I think that's what they were hinting at. But who knows? So yeah, go check those ones out. Though I will say, I think we both kind of ended up being very middling on those ones.
I don't remember them at all.
I at least wanted to point out that we had some previous Godzilla content on the show. So yeah, if you liked this Godzilla, I would actually strongly recommend the HBO miniseries Chernobyl.
Yes.
It is an incredible show. I loved it. I thought it was fantastic. It is not for the faint of heart. It is very harrowing. It's very sad. But if you were interested in the moments where people were just trying to decide what to do and how to deal with this thing, where the government is saying one thing, scientists are saying this thing, the people want that thing, no one truly knows what's going on, watch Chernobyl, because it is kind of a lot of the same stuff that's happening here in Godzilla. And Jared Harris is kind of the main character in this. He's one of the scientists kind of going around and basically figuring out what's happening and then advocating for, guys, this is a hell of a lot worse than we thought. We need to let the entire world know. And meanwhile, the government is like, but there's nothing wrong. Like, what do you mean? Like, and he's just like, you all are all fools. So it's good. I highly recommend it. But it is, it's intense. It's graphic. They go full on with all of that stuff. So
and I I mentioned recently that I had never seen Chernobyl, and I thought about throwing it out as a pitch, and you said you would watch it again. Maybe
Oh,
we'll do that at
absolutely.
some point this year. I don't know if I want to recommend this because this is the only movie I've ever seen where I swear I will never watch it again. But I feel like I should at least mention Grave of the Fireflies.
Yes, yeah, that would be
A beautiful, tragic
good
film.
recommendation.
I made the mistake of watching this when I was 12, when I was trying to get into anime, and it was one of the few anime movies I could get at my local Blockbuster. And I was in a very sad, melancholy mood for a week. It'll wreck you.
Yeah, that's a really tragic, really sad movie. But yeah, that is kind of the effects of of World War II on Japan, the fallout of the atomic bombs, and just these like smaller, really sad stories about people just trying to survive and not being able to. So yeah. Other big old monsters and stuff though. There's some newer King Kong and Godzilla movies out there. I've heard good things about Shin Godzilla, which is the one by the creator of Neon Genesis Evangelion. So you guys can go out there and find some more monsters if you want all of that stuff. So yeah. I think that's about it for recommendations, which means we need to get on to pitches and stuff like that for the next couple weeks. So here's what's happening on the show. Next weekend, I'm moving. Our recording schedule is not really going to be exactly what it usually is every week. It'll probably be an audio only podcast this next week. Don't know exactly when we are gonna record that, but the internet is already set up at my new place. So once I get there, I'll at least have my laptop to record some basic podcasts with. But despite it being audio only, it will still go up on YouTube whenever we record that. It just, you won't get to see our beautiful faces. But it's the end of the month, which means it's our end of the month special. We announced at the end of last month that we would be doing a sitcom exchange. Melissa, we haven't really announced what shows we're doing yet to the public. Or what I guess we're about to let each other know what episodes of those shows we are watching. So for this sitcom exchange, Melissa, what show are you gonna make me watch?
Well, to start with, you wanted to show me, well, actually, if the audience isn't familiar, at the end of every month we do a monthly ongoing special where we watch through an entire show. We'll watch every season of it, one season a month. We'll read through a longer comic series, something like that. And 2 years ago, we had like a month in between where we wanted to just take a break between two heavy titles, do something lighter, and we did a sitcom exchange.
Cleanser,
yeah. Where you had never seen much of The Simpsons, and I had never seen much of Seinfeld. So we assigned each other a couple episodes to watch. And we thought we'd do that again here as a break between two of our longer monthly ongoing series. So the show you wanted to show me.
Let me see here. So our sitcom special from 2 years ago was from September 2nd, 2020. It was number 121.
Yes, thank you. The show you want to show me is Community. I've seen like 5 non-consecutive episodes of Community. I don't know the show well. And I decided based off that a good companion piece would be for me to show you Arrested Development.
Yeah. There you go. I have seen 0 of Arrested Development. I've seen none of it. Zilch, nada. But yeah, Community is one of my all-time favorites. I've seen it all the way through once, actually, but I've seen the first handful of seasons multiple times. They're great. Um, and man, it was the little show that could. Hashtag 6 seasons in a movie. We still haven't gotten that movie, but maybe one day we'll see. So yeah, I wanted to give you 3 episodes of Community, and you're gonna give me
Yes.
3 episodes of Arrested Development. I will message you all of this stuff
Okay.
after the show.
Okay, thank you.
But here are the 3 that I want you to watch from Community. Season 1, episode 1, the pilot.
Good.
I feel like this is such a great introduction to the show. And this sitcom is not necessarily one that you can just watch random things on, but if you've seen the pilot, I feel like you almost kind of can.
Okay, good.
Unless it's like a 2-parter thing down, you know what I mean? But you can just like, okay, these are the characters. I kind of know who they are, and then yeah, you can just watch all of that stuff. So, the pilot, season 1, episode 1. Episode number 2 that I want you to watch is season 1, episode 21, entitled "Contemporary American Poultry." This is so each of their episode titles is titled like the name of a class, but it's just a completely ridiculous class, like Contemporary American Poultry. This one is they really like the chicken tenders in the cafeteria, and the group devises a scheme to kind of take over the cafeteria and basically run like a racket, like a drug scheme, like protection racket. Like they basically start a mafia in a school based off of these chicken tenders, and it's really great. It's in season 1 they did a lot of like one-offs where like, okay, this one's gonna be styled like a noir, or this one's gonna be styled like a rom-com, or this one's gonna be styled like name a genre. So yeah, this one is styled like a mafia movie noir kind of thing. It's really good.
Nice.
And last but not least, the third one I want you to watch is season 3, episode 4, entitled "Remedial Chaos Theory." This is the one everyone has seen the meme. This is the one where Troy walks in with pizza and everything's on fire.
Good, thank you. I want to see this in context.
Yes, this one is absolutely amazing. It is great. It's basically the gang playing some kind of board game, and they're hungry, so they decide to get pizza. The pizza gets there, and they don't know who should go get the pizza, so they roll dice to see who goes to get the pizza. And that's when one of the characters steps in and is like, wait, you know that by rolling these dice you're creating alternate realities, right? And so the whole thing goes through them rolling the dice, and it goes one by one what would happen if each of the characters went to go get the pizza, and stuff like that. So I think it is phenomenal. This show is also really interesting to see because it was made by the Russo brothers, who did a lot of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and so to see them go from Community, this like comedy sitcom, to Captain America Winter Soldier, and then onwards, it's just like, holy moly, these guys are great. What is going on? So, and
they really honor their background. I think almost everybody from Community has had a cameo in one of the Russo's MCU films. It's fun to see.
Yeah.
Thank you for those episodes. I look forward to seeing these. Before the Russos directed the MCU and before they directed Community, they directed the pilot of Arrested Development.
Hey, there you go.
We will be watching the pilot. They directed a number of other episodes. Some of them they directed on their own. Only Anthony or Joe. Sometimes together, sometimes separate.
Same thing here.
We will be watching the pilot of Arrested Development, which is a very solid pilot and I think very necessary to understand this map of familial relationships.
Mm-hmm.
Season 1, episode 1, pilot. Season 1, episode 15, staph infection. And Arrested Development is a show I really love. It was very formative to me. When I was like 12 or 13 years old and it came out, it was the first non-kids show that I followed on my own. Like, not a kid show I was watching and not a show I watched just because my dad watched it. It was my first on my own adult program. And I loved it so much, like during my youth. Yeah, but it's been a long time since I've seen it, and a lot of it sort of like blurs together. It's a big blur of jokes, and there's so many jokes I want to show you, but I don't know what episodes they're in. But I think we've got a good one for the third one, which is season 2, episode 4, Good Grief.
Okay.
I will send you those, and this is on Netflix. Perfect. Where can I see Community?
Community should also be on Netflix. And if I'm not mistaken, I think it's also available on Hulu. I think it's on both.
Oh.
But yeah, I know that it's on Netflix too. So
good, helpful.
Mm-hmm. Good stuff. So yeah, we will message those to one another after the show here. That's for next week.
Yes.
For the week after that, that's going to be episode 200.
Big.
Yeah, which is huge. We've made it 200 episodes of the review show. Melissa, you've been on basically 197 of them. I think I've just about that same number. There was a couple I wasn't on.
Yeah. You did 3 episodes before I joined. You did 2 episodes when I was in the middle of moving, and I didn't want to also do this and move. You're very brave for continuing it during your move. And I think I missed 1 other episode after I got my COVID shots, and I was exhausted. So I think I've been on all but 6 episodes.
There you go. Good stuff. So Melissa, you and I have been thinking and racking our brains about what we could do for episode 200, and so we came up with a plan. Do you want to tell this, since you are more familiar with what we are going to be covering? Would you do the honors of letting people know what we will be up to for episode 200?
We are going to be watching a Comedy Central show from 2014. This was total of 22 episodes, so we're just going to do all of it. This is a show called Review with Forrest McNeil. For the review show, we're going to be watching a show about reviewing things.
This is a review.
This is a fictional show, and the description is a review of a movie or a restaurant or a car or whatever else that typically falls under a critic's domain is all well and good and can even be helpful at times. But how can one find out about myriad other experiences that are never tackled in review? Enter Forrest McNeil, a critic who goes beyond overviews of life's more common subjects, way beyond, to satisfy the curiosity of others. He will review the adrenaline rush of stealing, the danger of drug addiction, the delight of sleeping with a celebrity. McNeil tries anything suggested by viewers of his TV show and then presents a 1 to 5 star review. But his unwavering commitment to experiencing intense adventures means that he must deal with the unintended consequences of such a goal. Starring Andy Daly, who you might not know, but you're going to get to know.
Yeah. I think this is a great idea. I like these kind of more jokey like celebrations of our podcast and stuff like that. I know back in the day on the Whatnauts podcast, our first incarnation of this show, for episode 100, we covered Scott McCloud's Understanding Comics, so that we could finally understand all of the things that we had reviewed on that show. And here on the review show for episode 100, we picked our what we thought was the best superhero movies, and we compared them. You suggested Spider-Man 2. I suggested Captain America 2, and we compared and contrasted them.
Yeah.
And that was good fun. So here we are reviewing review.
Yeah.
So, I think this will be good. It'll be a lot of fun. But that's what we're up to for the next couple weeks. We will keep you updated for down the road. I know I'm not sure whose pitch will it be. I guess your pitch for when we get back after review, all that stuff, since I did Godzilla here. But yeah,
maybe I'll have that ready next week so that you've got time to prepare.
Sure, sounds good to me. But with that, I think that just about wraps us up for this week on the review show. So Melissa, where can the people find you on the internet?
You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Wilkywit. That's WILKYWIT. And listen to my other podcast, Saturday Morning Obscurities. This is a show where me and my brother Jams talk about weird old kids shows you feel like only you remember. Our most recent episode is on Lazy Town, the candy-colored, energetic, music number-filled Scandinavian kids show about exercising and fighting a guy named Robbie Rotten.
There you go.
Tune in. And eventually we will cover the Godzilla animated series. We're going to get there. That's on our list.
Oh, yeah. If you guys want to follow me, I'm at YoKyleSpringer on Twitter. And if you guys want to stay up to date with all of the stuff that we do here at the Whatnauts, we are at the Whatnauts on Twitter. So please go like, share, and subscribe. That would help us out a ton. Yeah. And I guess that is it. We will see you all next time. Bye.
Bye.